Take a look at the most infamous scene from the Dick Cavett Show. Do you remember Dick Cavett? Despite the passage of time, he still stands as one of the greatest talk show hosts in history. During the 70s, he had a plethora of intriguing guests on his program and managed to get them to open up like never before. Some of these events have gone down in memory lane, and if you were lucky enough to witness any such episode back then, it served as tiny moments that would eventually become part of our cultural heritage without even knowing it at first. Salvador Dali brings his anteater. When Salvador Dali graced the Cavett Show in 1971, he brought a surprise guest with him, an anteater. Unsurprisingly, things got bizarre when Dali tossed the creature into silent film actress Lillian Gish's lap. What did that small animal make of it? Unfortunately, we can't know for certain. Cavett interviews John and Yoko. On a memorable September evening in 1971, talk show host Cavett welcomed John Lennon and Yoko Ono onto his program. This momentous occasion marked the debut of one of the greatest songs ever written, Imagine, which later made an appearance in Forrest Gump featuring Tom Hanks. Roy Dotrice takes off his makeup. Roy Dotrice has a unique talent for transforming himself into an elderly man. He brought the character of John Aubrey in Brief Lives to life and went on to personify many other characters much older than him. In 1974, he appeared on the Dick Cavett Show with full prosthetic makeup designed to make him look aged, proving that his mastery over special effects was second to none as he removed it piece by piece before our eyes. Cavett slams English food. Dick Cavett was not a fan of English cuisine, to put it mildly. During an interview with celebrity chef Julia Child in 1980, he facetiously commented that perhaps people everywhere are indifferent about food. Certainly, 90% of the English must be from the evidence. He then went on to say that although there were some great restaurants in England, in general the glop they ingest is truly phenomenal. Ouch. John Cleese throws furniture. In 1995, renowned British comedian John Cleese made an unexpected appearance on the Dick Cavett Show to promote his new book. The interview took a bizarre turn when he proceeded to hurl drinks and throw the coffee table before him in what was apparently a pre-planned bit. Despite this odd development, Dick Cavett remained composed and saw it through. This left viewers with an awkward yet entertaining experience. Chuck Norris discusses his stunt injuries. Before he became the internet's beloved meme, Chuck Norris graced the Dick Cavett Show with his presence in May of 1993. During this interview, he discussed the multiple injuries sustained throughout his career, but there was a tinge of sorrow as actor Brandon Lee tragically passed away only 2 months prior due to an unfortunate stunt accident. Sophia Loren flirts with Cavett. Cavett famously never ran out of things to say on a show, but he was momentarily speechless when the stunning Sophia Loren flirted with him in 1979. She praised him for having charm, elegance, grace, a great brain, and a sense of humor, enough to make anyone blush. Cavett interviews Bobby Fischer. In 1972, Bobby Fischer, the chess grandmaster, appeared on Dick Cavett's show and gave an interactive lesson in chess. Cavett recalled his guest for years to come, although he eventually suffered from severe mental health issues. His fondness for Fischer was evident when he spoke with Big Think website in 2010, sharing that they'd gotten along great, but sadly lost touch sometime later on. Julie Andrews sings. Julie Andrews had an incredible voice, which she showcased on the Dick Cavett Show in 1971, without so much as a vocal warm-up or standing up. The beloved actress sang Wouldn't It Be Lovely from the Broadway show My Fair Lady, and it was truly beautiful. Stephen King discusses being warped. In 1990, 4 renowned horror authors came together on the Dick Cavett Show: Stephen King, George Romero, Peter Straub, and Ira Levin. When asked why he wrote horror in particular, King jokingly attributed it to being warped as a child. Yet what may be more frightening for the younger generation is that he was comfortably smoking a cigarette during the interview. Dennis Hopper remembers threatening James Dean. Dennis Hopper's admiration for James Dean, his co-star in Rebel Without a Cause and Giant, was no secret. In fact, it went so far that when he spoke to Dick Cavett in 1994, He recalled an incident where Dean had gone silent on film, which caused Hopper to take drastic action. He grabbed the star and threw him into a car before threateningly demanding acting tips. Talk about dedication. George Harrison roasts John Lennon. Not too long after John Lennon made an appearance on the Dick Cavett Show, George Harrison followed suit. Despite his claim that the two of them still had contact, he seemed unimpressed with his former Beatles bandmate and even suggested that Lennon was a sellout. He sarcastically recited the lyrics to Lennon's Christmas record, saying, "We wish you a Merry Christmas, war is over, get yours now," in mockery of what he felt were commercialized attempts by Lennon to capitalize off their music. Lily Tomlin walks out. 1972 was, in many ways, a sexist era, but women were prepared to fight back. On one episode of television, feminist comedian Lily Tomlin was pitted against actor Chad Everett from an even earlier time period, who referred to his wife as merely property. As soon as he voiced these outdated ideas, Tomlin made her feelings known by simply walking out without hesitation. It's clear that she wasn't about to stand for such archaic beliefs and attitudes. James Earl Jones let something slip. In April 1995, James Earl Jones made an appearance on the Dick Cavett Show, where he was questioned about his iconic Vader voice. He admitted that once while driving with a CB radio, the actor had imitated Darth Vader's distinct tone to freak out some people. Raquel Welch talks about being mobbed. At the apex of her fame, Raquel Welch frequently feared for her safety. She spoke to Cavett in 1970 about the mob that overwhelmed her at the premiere of Myra Breckinridge. She described it as Vietnam revisited. Well, she was quick to point out how fans were not accountable for any shattered glass or other destruction. It clearly left an impression on Welch. Katharine Hepburn discusses her childhood. In 1973, Katharine Hepburn shocked the world when she agreed to sit down with Cavett for an interview. The two iconic figures discussed her life in great detail, including a surprising admission that as a young adult she was fond of breaking into homes, at which point Cavett exclaimed, "You too? I love breaking into houses." This remarkable exchange between these legendary personalities continues to be remembered today. Cavett breaks some important news. On the January 22, 1973 episode of Cavett, Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward joined John Foreman and Oriana Fallaci as guests. Just after introducing Foreman to the audience, off-screen crew members delivered shocking news. Former U.S. President Lyndon B. Johnson had passed away. With composure, Cavett immediately informed his viewers of this unexpected development before guiding the conversation toward its inevitable topic, LBJ's legacy in life and death. Cavett meets Kermit. For those who consider themselves to be true fans of the Muppets, there's no better talk show episode than the one that featured Kermit the Frog and Jim Henson in 1971 on Dick Cavett's show. Along with Cookie Monster, Big Bird, and Grover, it was a memorable experience for all viewers. This exceptional encounter is still something that must not go unseen by loyal supporters of the Muppets. Jimi Hendrix speaks about the national anthem. When Jimi Hendrix performed the Star-Spangled Banner at Woodstock in 1969, it stirred controversy due to his passionate delivery of the song during a tumultuous time for the United States. Months later, on the Dick Cavett Show, when Cavett suggested that Hendrix's version was unorthodox, he replied with determination, "All I did was play it. I'm American, so I played it." This response reaffirmed how proud and devotedly patriotic he felt towards his country. Cavett interviews Orson Welles. Way back in 1970, Dick Cavett had what many refer to as one of the most impressive interviews ever when he welcomed the incomparable Orson Welles onto his show. Even decades later, after reminiscing about that special evening on Big Think website, Dick called it the dream talk show guest. He even remembered getting a letter from an overjoyed woman who wrote, thank you, Mr. Cavett, for bringing Orson Welles back to his American audience." It's truly rewarding experiences like this that make being part of television such a pleasure. Steven Spielberg talks the Raiders of the Lost Ark snakes. If you've seen the iconic Raiders of the Lost Ark, then you know there's no shortage of snakes. In fact, these slithering reptiles were completely real and posed a very real danger. On a 1981 episode of The Dick Cavett Show, an up-and-coming Steven Spielberg discussed how he purposely used live snakes to make his actors scream in fear for maximum realism on set. Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier picked Cavett up. When Ali and Frazier were both guests on Cavett's show, he worried that they may go head-to-head right in front of the camera. Yet something else happened instead. Ali suggested a friendly game plan to his rival. Let's act like we're friends and get him together. Both boxers then picked up Cavett to dangle him about. It was an amusing sight for all viewers at home. Ian McKellen discusses coming out. All the way back in 1992, Ian McKellen appeared on The Dick Cavett Show to talk about what it was like being a gay man when homosexuality wasn't as socially accepted. While this interview may appear dated now, his words were still quite striking and powerful for its time. You could easily witness how confident he was speaking about his own life then. A younger version of McKellen than we would come to know as Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Robin Williams does a variety of accents. On The Dick Cavett Show in 1979, Robin Williams astounded the audience with his impressive array of accents. After a momentary pause for breath, Cavett expressed to his guest, "Robin, I'm truly glad you're here. This isn't what you usually do." To which Williams replied in an ordinary tone, "No, I've never done any talk shows before and probably won't ever again."